Welcome back everybody to Orange Track Outlaws, and today I'm going to customize this Chevelle for a buddy of mine's wife, Jen. They were over here for the Super Bowl. She seen one of my, I think it was a Spectre Flame Mustang or something pink, and she said she was really digging that color. And so I asked her what her favorite car was. She said the Chevelle. I said, well, I can make you a Spectre Flame Pink Chevelle. She said, alright, let's do it. So that is what we're going to get into today, is stripping this bad boy down and polishing the hell out of it, and we're going to put a wheel swap on it, and hopefully it should be fancy pink when we're done. So we got our Chevelle here. Pretty cool looking car, except for these stupid chrome plated plastic chassis, whatever. Other than that, though, pretty good looking car. Kind of chose this one. Had the clear windshield and black interior, so basically can do whatever I want to do with that. So we're going to start off taking this thing apart. So we're going to drill these rivets out, get it pulled apart, and see what we got to work with. But I can pretty much tell you we're going to clip these wheels out and throw that chassis right into the super clean about the first thing. So get that thing stripped off there. Hopefully it's black underneath, and we'll be able to just roll with that as a chassis, and we'll be able to chrome up some details on the bottom. But after you get the heads of the post screwed off here, we're going to take a little screwdriver and we're going to try and pop this bad boy off. See if we can't see what's going on here. So apparently I didn't get enough of the head drilled off, but once you do, it should pop off real easy. So pretty basic, plastic interior, like I said. There are some cool details under there. I think it'll look good if we can once we get this black, we can chrome them details out. The interior is pretty basic and boring. We'll see what we can do there. And here's our body. We're going to have to put that bad boy in the sandblaster and get that paint stripped off and get it cleaned up. But like I said, first thing here while we got the bases apart is we're going to clip these old wheels out. First of all, since we're doing a wheel swap, and second of all, we're going to get rid of this chrome chassis. I'm going to throw it into the tub of super clean. Hopefully I can get this cleaned off, and then we'll see what we can do from there. Hopefully it's black underneath. If not, we'll prime it with some flat black and go from there. But here's a look at our body after fresh out of the sandblaster. So we're going to put this thing in our little wire wheel booth here, get it cleaned up, and then we'll get it washed off and get it prepped for some primer. Oh, actually, sorry, we're not priming this. What am I thinking? We are going to get this thing with some sandpaper. Probably going to start off, depending on how the body looks, we'll probably start off with a little bit of 1000 grit and move into a little 2000 grit, probably a little triple aught steel wool, and then we're going to I got a new bench polisher. I'm going to try this thing out with a little rouge and see if I can't get this thing shining as best I can. should be a pretty cool process. Haven't done it before, but the body is in actually really good shape. So I didn't gonna bore you guys with all the polishing because it did take a while, but you can see here in the booth we got this thing shining great. It's probably the most shiniest one I've done so far, especially for Spectre Flame, and it's looking sick. So I asked Jen what she kind of wanted her body to look like, and I asked her if she liked traditional racing stripes or whatever, and she said she did. So we're gonna hit this thing with some Spectre Flame Pink, and we're gonna add a little bit of the hardener in there, and I masked off some racing stripes, and we're gonna go ahead and hit this thing with a little bit of that Spectre Flame Pink. We're gonna give it a nice light tack coat. Give the rest of that paint something to stick to, and then we will move on into some some heavier coverage coats. So back to the polishing here real quick. I did hit it with some a black rouge bar, to cut it out pretty good, and that did polish it out pretty good. And then I moved into a white rouge bar, and that really cleaned it up. After that, I hit it with some degreaser a couple times, got it all cleaned up with a toothbrush as best as possible, and I think it turned out really well. Dried it up and polished it up with a nice shop towel, and I think it turned out pretty good. So we're moving into our second coverage coat here. I guess you want to call it coverage coat, layer coat. But it's looking pretty good here. It's still pretty light pink, and I'd like to get it just a little bit darker if all possible. So we're going to go with coat 3 here. So since we've already got 2 coats down, we're going to try and hit this coat here pretty good, pretty hard. Not so hard where it gets super wet. Definitely don't want it to run, because it will if you get it way too wet. But we're going to try and layer it on pretty good and see if I can cut it at 3. But I may need to go into a 4th to get to really bring the pink out. But we'll see how it looks here once we get through it. Should look pretty good. But once we get the pink to the color we're looking for, we'll peel those racing stripe tapes off. It should leave a nice shiny stripe down there, and I think it's going to be pretty awesome. I think Jen's going to be real happy with this. I've got a really cool set of chrome rims picked out to go with this. I think it's really going to set this car off. I'm going to hit a couple details on this thing when I'm done painting it with some Molotov chrome, and it should really set the car apart. So this thing's looking real awesome right now. I think we're probably going to quit right there with the paint. So onto our chassis here. We got the chrome stripped off out of the super clean, and luckily it was black underneath. So we're not going to have to do much there other than chrome out the details. But the stock axle tubes on the wheels I wanted to use were too big. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some brass tubing to make my axle tubes, and you can see them. I already have them glued in there. I did. I drilled out the axle space there just a little bit so they can lower them down a little bit. I cut notches in the brass tubing. I've done other videos on that before, but super glued them in. And now I'm going to go ahead and glue the axles on the wheels into the tubing and let them set up. But see, what you need to do is once you get the axle pushed all the way into the tube, you need to back it out just a little bit so it gives the wheel free room to roll. So that's definitely what you want to do. You don't want that wheel to get hung up. So you want this thing to free roll. So that's what we're going to do here. Try and get those wheels spaced out just a little bit, and then we'll hit it with some super glue and get that set up, and we'll move on to the fronts and hopefully get this chassis nice and set. Once this glue is all set and the tire and the wheels and axles are all in, then we'll move on to chroming out the details. Front and rear bumper we'll do. I'll do the mufflers and the exhaust and maybe the rear diff, and we'll see what else is underneath there. This car does have a pretty cool look underneath it. I'll show you guys in a little bit, but it does have dual exhaust on it. So I thought it'd be pretty cool to drill those molded exhaust out of the bottom of this chassis, and I'm going to use some tubing to make a nice little dual exhaust chrome tipped exhaust out of the back. So that should look pretty cool. But we got the back tires in now. Those things are super glued. Now we're going to move on to the front here. Basically it's the same thing. Since I told you earlier the stock axles were a little too long, so I cut them in half and I trimmed them down a little bit so they'll fit in the tubing and not hit, but left enough on there so they'll stay sturdy in there. But got to make sure that when you cut the axles in half, whatever tool you're using, it will tend to pinch it before it cuts it. So sometimes you have to grind that little pinch cut off there so it'll fit in the axle tube and not get hung up. So that's kind of the issue I'm running into here. So I want to make sure our hole size is nice and round, and I'll try to get the rest of that axle in there. But Sometimes you might have to grind it off a little bit with your Dremel tool or something to get that axle to fit in there, but we ended up getting it. So push our axle in there all the way, and we'll back our tires out just a little bit so they can free spin, and then we'll hit it with a little bit of our super glue here. And I don't know if you guys have tried this super glue product here, but you probably saw me do the rear axles, but I'll do the front axles with this Fiber Fix super glue. It's really great stuff, because the applicator pen, if you will, comes with a UV light on the back side of it that will fast dry this glue, and it's really awesome. You don't have to wait, you don't have to fumble with the liquid activator. And I don't know if that, which is still a great product and I still use it, but sometimes it'll turn like your chassis kind of white around the glue and whatnot, and this doesn't. You hit this thing with about 10 seconds with that UV light, and it's hard and set, and it's great, and you can move on, don't have to worry about any mess or anything. So we'll get that glue set on these front wheels, and we should be good to go here. Everything should roll nice and flat, and we'll be able to move on to our next step. These rims are going to look sweet once we get our body on here. They're going to look sweet. So we did our detailing here off camera. I chromed out the front and the rear bumpers like I said I was going to. Needed on this car. Added a couple tail lights there on the back. And you can see our dual chrome exhaust tips that I added in the back. Took the Molotov pen and detailed out the rest of the exhaust and a little bit of the transmission and the rear diff. So got that looking good. And I figured that the interior was a little too plain, so I did try to hit it with a little bit of red on the seats. I didn't really do anything. Since it was a brand new car, the windshield, I put it in some pledge cleaner anyway. But we can take a look at our body here. This thing has been clear coated with some I used some rattle can clear on this, but you can see that the racing stripes look pretty sweet. Those are looking polished and mirrored. Our Spectra Flame Pink, I did put some detailed the headlights in there, the door handles, the hood pins. So we're ready to put this bad boy back together and see what the finished product looks like. I know Jenn's gonna love this thing, but it's a sweet looking car. I'm gonna have to try to do another one of these and Spectra Flame with my new polishing wheel. Definitely beats out, if you have a nice flat surface area, definitely beats out using the Dremel to polish. It does a great job. Highly recommended. I think I got it at Harbor Freight. It was just a little benchtop grinder with 2 wheels there, like 3.5 inches for like 35 bucks or something, but it worked out great. So once we get these things put back together, I did use self-tapping screws. I know you didn't see me drill the post out, but I'm loving the self-tapping screws because you don't have to go back in there and tap out the posts. Makes it a ton easier in my opinion. So get this guy put together, and we'll get it up on the turntable and let you guys get a look at the finished product here. Before then, though, we'll definitely show you what we started with, and we'll show you what we finished with. But I think this is one bad pink old Chevelle. So this is what we started with, guys. It's a red Chevelle. I believe this came from the Fast and Furious edition. But cool in casting. Once we got the paint off, I had a great body to work with, which was a blessing there. But we did Spectra Flame Pink with some racing stripes. We did wheel swap, detailed the interior and detailed the chassis. And here is a look at how we finished with this Spectra Flame Pink Chevelle for Miss Jennifer. I hope she likes it. I know she's gonna love it. I can tell you that right now. She's gonna love it. She's a fellow Hot Wheeler. She's got a nice little collection going on. They like doing some racing over there too. I know Annabelle likes watching the videos and checking out the races, because she comes over and does some races on in our track in the basement. So we got a good time with it. But anyway, guys, I'd like to thank you again for watching another one of my custom Hot Wheels. If you like what you're seeing, please hit that subscribe button if you aren't already, and check that like button out. Check out my other customs. I got some redline restorations going on. I got a lot of races going on. If you guys are into the racing thing, if you want to know what the fastest Hot Wheels is, I'm trying to find it. Got some real fast stuff, so give those a look. And thanks again for watching, and I will catch you guys on the next video. Jen, hope you like it. See you guys later.